If you're a coach, a consultant, a healer, work with humans in any kind of leadership or transformational capacity, listen up. A brilliant conversation does not necessarily change a life. You can spend an hour inside a deeply insightful dialogue, full presence. The client can see their pattern clearly. They understand the decisions that need to be made. The path forward is obvious, maybe even inspiring to both of you. And when the session ends, everyone feels a sense of progress. Real work has been done. And then weeks go by and then nothing actually changes. You ever see this? That doesn't mean that the conversation wasn't real in that moment or the insight wasn't genuine or powerful. Think of an insight like a spark of change, but it will fizzle. It will fizzle without anything underneath of it. So the understanding was not superficial, but their behavior remains exactly the same. So for many coaches, this becomes one of the more puzzling aspects of the work. And honestly, I've heard even well-seasoned, masterful coaches turn this around into a subtle blame of their client. They just didn't want it enough, or they're not being enough. They're not being the thing, right? And because coaching as an industry has been built around the idea that conversation is what creates clarity, and clarity should naturally lead to action. But that's not actually coaching at its roots. If you look in athletics or arts performance, etc., when someone truly sees their situation differently, it seems reasonable to assume that they will behave differently, but that's not actually how human systems operate. They do not operate on insight alone. So every meaningful action in life requires pressure. It carries pressure. So insight and action, they must go together like PB&J. And so because they'll have the insight, they'll feel a spark of aliveness. But if they do not move into that, what is usually happening is they felt the action and it carried pressure. That action creates a felt sense of threat, so stability in some form, or a risk of reputation, pushback, complications, financial security. And the mind will recognize the correct decision instantly, but then their nervous system, that person's body, is the one that determines whether they feel capable of carrying the moments next. So if the nervous system predicts that the action will place too much load or complexity on them than they can currently tolerate, something subtle will happen. The body will regulate or pull away from the edge, and they'll justify it. So the client will become thoughtful rather than decisive. They will tell you one thing in session and they will do another in their life. Preparation will replace execution. Insight, honestly, at that point just becomes another way to understand their problem without confronting the moment of truth, the action that would actually change it. The coaching conversation itself is a sacred container, but it isn't the engine of change. The coaching conversation is the place where the edge becomes visible. What determines whether that edge is then crossed is that person's capacity to carry pressure of the action in their life. So before we go further, it might help to understand that we don't all approach that edge the same way. Our nervous systems, they orient in 4 particular patterns when pressure rises. So some bodies will move towards an edge with decisive force. Some create distance through analysis. Some will adapt fluidly and always change the goalposts in environments, while others track relational or intuitive signals with extraordinary sensitivity. We describe these patterns as 4 nervous system orientations: the somatic skins, the warrior, the sage, the shapeshifter, and the asset. And if you pop down into the description below, you'll find a short assessment where you can take, you can see your own orientation and how your system organizes. especially when stakes or change is occurring. This assessment is not going to give you the end all and be all. It is an important introduction to this lens and way of working. And so consider it a tool upgrade, and I want you to have it. So, all right, many coaches find that when they start to orient they see their own system and how these patterns are at play for themselves, it gives them an advantage and a nuance in how they work with their own clients. So each orientation brings a set of strengths, but each also develops capacity in one particular direction. So when that capacity is trained well, it will expand the range of a person to operate under pressure. For example, I'll go through all four. A warrior-oriented system develops range through strength and structural integrity. When pressure increases, the body learns to remain grounded rather than reactive. The warrior will gain access to capacity to confront difficulty, and will do so in a way that they don't need to overpower or dominate. So something that once triggered aggression or avoidance becomes a moment that they can carry with calm force. A sage will develop range through attention. So a sage's natural inclination under pressure is to move into analysis and interpretation. When that orientation is trained well, their attention becomes a stabilizing force rather than a distancing strategy. The sage learns how to remain present in the moment of decision rather than retreating into thought and interesting concepts and ideas. And this will allow, that connectivity will allow them to take insight and move it into action. A shapeshifter will develop range through flexibility and adaptive movement. So under pressure, a shapeshifter is a fun one because they often adjust to the environment around them. Sometimes this looks like losing consistency in the process, or always something came up, or it's always chaotic. When this capacity matures, however, the organism, the shapeshifter, can remain fluid while still carrying forward momentum in a steady direction. So adaptability becomes reliability instead of instability. An asset-oriented system, or what we would call the sovereign empath, this is a system that develops range through relational field awareness. These individuals often feel the emotional landscape, the energy of a room before anyone speaks. So when their capacity is trained, the asset learns to remain connected and feel everything without collapsing into accommodation. They can carry relational tension while still delivering the truth or decision the moment it's required. So each of these orientations develops its underlying capacity, and then something begins to happen. The nervous system gains range. So moments that once overwhelmed, they become manageable. The body can remain steady while encountering conflict, visibility, uncertainty or responsibility, everything that felt like pressure or load, standards or responsibility. The actions that felt impossible simply just become the easy next step. Doesn't that sound nice? This is the real reason that capacity matters more than just one more conversation. So a coaching dialogue can reveal the action that needs to happen. It can also reveal the gap in the client's capacity. But if they cannot carry the pressure that action generates, that insight is going to remain theoretical, and they're going to need another one and another one and another one, and then nothing changes. When their nervous system has the tools, the support, the reps under their belt, they gain the ability to hold that pressure. The conversation then that they have with you as their coach, it finally has somewhere to land. So this is exactly the work that we do inside the Prestige. We use immersive events as catalysts, encounters, to expand somatic range. And then we have coaching circles underneath to explore these tools to practice real decision making or relational tension under pressure. So members develop the biological infrastructure required to translate powerful insights into meaningful execution inside of this Applied Somatics Academy. If that kind of work resonates with you, we would love to have you join us for a season. Please do just reply to us directly and we'll place you on the wait list to let you know when a spot opens up. With that, thank you for joining me for now, and